This is a fun and unique matchup, as it pits a well-established classic hero against a relatively newer, indie character. To make this a fair and interesting fight, we'll use a version of Daredevil that is still grounded but at his peak of street-level capabilities, and the main version of Impound from his comic book lore. Impound, main continuity, Anthony Ensley, a former MMA fighter who gained superhuman abilities after taking a serum called Steroid X. This version of Impound has superhuman strength, flight, telekinetic abilities, enhanced intelligence, and powerful laser vision. His durability is enhanced by a nanotech suit, but he is still susceptible to being stabbed or shot. Daredevil, peak street level. This is Daredevil at his most competent and powerful, without dipping into more mystical or temporary power-ups like when he was possessed by the Beast of the Hand during the Shadowlands storyline. This version has his hyper-enhanced senses, radar, hearing, smell, etc., expert martial arts skills honed by Stick in his own experience, and his tactical genius. He's a master of fighting opponents with greater power than him, and has defeated foes like Bullseye, Kingpin, and even held his own against the likes of Captain America and Spider-Man. Authentic settings. To provide a neutral battleground that favors neither fighter's home turf, the fight will take place in a location with plenty of sensory input and opportunities for both close-quarters combat and the use of their ranged abilities. Location. A bustling, multi-level construction site at night in a generic metropolis, somewhere between Hell's Kitchen and Sacramento. The site is filled with exposed rebar, stacks of lumber, heavy machinery, and multiple platforms and scaffolding. A light drizzle is falling, which would affect Daredevil's senses but also provides a dynamic element. Full battle analysis. The battle would begin with both characters on high alert, but for different reasons. Round 1. Initial encounter and scouting. Impound, with his superhuman senses and enhanced intelligence, would quickly get a bead on Daredevil. He would likely use his radar sense to pinpoint the vigilante's location from a distance. Daredevil, relying on his hyper-hearing and heightened senses, would pick up on Impound's movements, and even the subtle hum of his nanotech suit and the energy coursing through him. Impound would likely initiate the fight with a blast of his laser vision from a distance, trying to end the fight quickly with his overwhelming power. However, Daredevil's heightened reflexes and radar sense would allow him to predict the trajectory and dodge the blasts, using the construction site's environment as cover. The sound of the lasers cutting through metal and wood would be a massive sensory overload for Daredevil, but his experience allows him to process it without being incapacitated. Round 2, the brawl. Realizing his ranged attack isn't working, Impound would close the distance, using his flight to his advantage. He would engage in close-quarters combat, relying on his superhuman strength and MMA background. This is where the fight gets interesting. Daredevil, despite being outclassed in raw strength, would be a master of misdirection and evasion. He would use his agility and acrobatics to avoid Impound's powerful blows, weaving through the chaos of the construction site. He'd use his billy club to deflect, trip, and disarm Impound, while simultaneously using his telekinetic abilities to try and push or pull Daredevil. But Daredevil's acrobatic skill and sense of balance would make this difficult. Daredevil's key advantage would be his ability to read Impound's body language and the subtle shifts in air pressure. He would be able to anticipate Impound's movements and find openings. He would target Impound's suit, looking for weak points, and his body, aiming for nerve clusters and pressure points to momentarily stun him. Round 3, the turning point. The fight would be a brutal, drawn-out affair. Impound's durability, even with the nanotech suit, has its limits against a precision fighter like Daredevil. Daredevil's sustained attacks on Impound's more vulnerable points would begin to wear him down. Daredevil, on the other hand, would be taking massive hits. A single full-power punch from Impound could be fatal. His entire strategy would be to endure, evade, and exploit weaknesses. He would use the environment to his advantage, leading Impound into areas with loose debris, unstable platforms, or even using the heavy machinery as a distraction. The light drizzle would begin to play a bigger factor. While it's a slight hindrance to Daredevil's senses, the rain would also create a lot of sound for him to echolocate, and the slick surfaces would make it harder for the less agile Impound to maintain footing. Conclusion. This is an uphill battle for Daredevil, but it's one he's uniquely suited for. Impound has raw power, but Daredevil has the tactical brilliance, superior combat skill, and experience fighting superpowered opponents. The fight would not be decided by a single, powerful blow. Instead, it would be a war of attrition. Daredevil's victory would come not from overpowering Impound, but from outsmarting him. After a long, punishing fight, he would likely lead Impound into a trap, perhaps collapsing a structure on him or using the heavy machinery to pin him. Once Impound is incapacitated, Daredevil would use his precision strikes to knock him unconscious. Winner, Daredevil. While Impound's powers are formidable, Daredevil's experience and unique skill set allow him to overcome opponents with superior physical attributes. His ability to predict movements, exploit weaknesses, and use the environment to his advantage would ultimately give him the win in a close and brutal fight.